Eagles. Let's hit the Eagles.
That's a pretty good one.
Right. The two after that, I'm going to cap us on like 3 minutes a team because they suck so bad.
Understandable.
But there's
that next division, though, is going to be fun to unpack.
There's something, right. So all the more reason to not waste our good time on the Giants.
I got to refresh it real quick. So.
All right. But we're going to talk Eagles because there are some guys worth talking about. Jalen Hurts, for instance, who the Wolf has projected as his QB4 and also as 4 on the big board. Yes, every now and then those picks do align. So anyway, we talked about Prescott. It's okay. Jalen Hurts, it's got that Konami upside. That's the thing that the Wolf has been selling me on for a long time because I reflexively see where he's got this guy ranked. And my instinct is you're crazy. He's not that good. And I don't think he's that good, but he's a fantasy player who produces fantasy points. He's got a good enough arm and the guy runs all over the place. So it's like you're tacking like 9-10 points on what he does every single week. And you can be a far less efficient or far less successful passer than the next guy. But if you're tagging 9 points on whatever you get every game, just because you run, and that's if you don't even score a touchdown, and next thing you know, like, oh, you outscored the other guy by 7 points or something like that. So I get it. You've converted me on that. I'm still probably not going to draft him unless I get a really good deal on him. But I see why you like the guy so much.
Yeah. And that is it. Did he come back up? It's
up. It's
awesome.
Up.
So as you hinted at, 26% rush share for a quarterback. The Konami upside is out of this world. It's what led to him being the quarterback 6 last year. And now you add a talent like AJ Brown. We've already hyped him up on a million podcasts. If you need a Jalen Brown hype, just rewind a couple of the tapes. But the man just led all of meaningful rushing, red zone carries and total rushes and everything. And I just really don't see any reason that changes, especially the red zone stuff. Like he is just so slippery and he gets in there with tremendous ease. I love Jalen Hurts. That's why Miles Sanders, I only had for 2 touchdowns. That'd be 2 more than he scored.
I know, which is like a real bump from what he did last year.
Double.
Yeah. Not double, infinity % more.
Exactly, right? But yeah, Jalen Hurts, QB3 in the projections, and I think I have him QB4 in the rankings. Like I love everything about him because the worst, like the floor is last year, which was QB6. But again, you add a talent like AJ Brown. I do think that means they throw a little bit more, which technically doesn't necessarily help him. I mean, it should help out a quarterback if you throw more, but he does, as you hinted at, the most damage on the ground. But I do think a talent like AJ Brown is so good after the catch. That's where they really struggled last year. Is DeVonta Smith got open pretty well, but he almost immediately goes down when he gets hit, and that's okay. I mean, he's a smaller guy. That's what happens with him. AJ Brown's a bull with the ball in his hand, and I think that's going to make a huge difference. Now, what I found interesting, so the way I projected it out, so you see this, 22% target share. That sounds really good. With an offense like this, when the pie is smaller, that only is 119 targets. I think AJ Brown deserves, 50 more on top of that. But that's just not how this offense, the run heaviest team in the league. I think they get a little bit pass after. You don't trade for AJ Brown if you're not. But I still think this is going to be, what do I have now? Like 48 and 52? Yeah, exactly. 48 rush, 52 pass. So
AJ Brown's another example of a guy that you have projected. You got him projected as your wide receiver 20, but you got him as 13 on your big board. He's another of these guys that you there's a real category of these guys that you're like, this is what I think they're probably going to get, but I like them a little more than that.
I just like them as players that if they, broke fantasy, it wouldn't shock me. That's kind of like AJ Brown for me. I was going to ask you what I had, so I'm glad you had that. As you say, that's just the product of a smaller pie. I have him being efficient, 14 yards a catch. I have him catching a lot of his balls at 63%. It's just a smaller pie that makes it tougher to break into that top 12. So yeah, I mean, that is tricky. And I've started to draft him a bit less since doing these projections. It's kind of a lot of the drafts you end up staring at him or Keenan Allen. And I have Keenan Allen coming out as my wide receiver 8. So I've started to flip those things a little bit and now just hammer Keenan Allen every time. Unless I want to go for the Jalen Hurts stack, which is always pretty damn sexy. I did have Smith come out a little bit higher than I expected, actually, because I don't see a ton more to throw to. Similar to him and Goedert. This is like a less sexy Vikings in that sense that it's very concentrated. It's going to be Brown, Smith, and Dallas Goedert with a few running back tosses put in there, and that's it. Like, it's going to be very, very centered on who you're getting the targets, even if it is a smaller pie. So Goedert came out a bit better than I expected at 891 and 6 touchdowns. I believe he came out as my tight end 6 or 7. So he got a bump up in my rankings as a result, and so did DeVonta Smith. I assumed AJ Brown was just going to eat everybody's work, but you look at how they kind of spread the ball around, and I kind of end up making it a more shared pie. Do you think that's like a solid approach to this team, or what are your thoughts on the Eagles?
I do. I actually think that you, I mean, it's taken me a while to come around on Eagles fantasy assets. I think you've got it assessed pretty much correctly. I think your running back stuff is pretty much right on. And I think that the pie is not as big as a lot of these other teams, even with the real, talent, especially at the top of the wide receiver thing. I agree. Goddard's going to take a decent amount of that pie also, which is why I definitely like him as, a tight end. I don't think that's a hot take by any means. But yeah, I think you got it spread out pretty much the way I would.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, Sanders, so just to talk about those running backs, Sanders is the carry leader at 163, 864, and 2. I loved your comment on our post. He's telling us, don't draft me. Okay, Miles.
You got it.
You got it, Miles. Yeah, exactly.
Done.
You got it. Sounds good. I wasn't anyways. He's another one that's similar to Hawk. Like, I haven't drafted Sanders once, and I don't really plan to change that. He goes right around Pollard. I'll take Pollard every day of the week over Sanders. Gainwell, I do like. He goes around 13, 14. Nothing would shock me. I think it might have been you I was having this conversation with. Like, if by the end of training camp, Gainwell's just the starter, he's the one this team handpicked. He had the more explosive plays. He's certainly better in the red zone, scored more. Nobody would be that shocked if Gainwell emerges as training camp and just takes the job from Sanders. I don't think, at least. And people aren't projecting that as a potential possibility. So I have them neck and neck in carries. I have Gainwell scoring more touchdowns. I have Scott eating into that touchdown workload as well. But Gainwell getting significantly more receiving work. It's like the Konami code of running backs is the receiving work. 54 targets, 37, 278, and 1. I have Gainwell coming out a little bit higher in my projections, and you can get him 7 rounds later. So if I want an Eagles back, and I don't mind it as a run-heavy attack, I'm going Gainwell all day.
Good call.
What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.